We're live. So, Hank, do you like beach living?
No, I like visit. I, I like visiting the beach, um, but I like trees. I like roads. I like um, just surfing sand each and every day for the rest of my life is not something that I aspire to do.
Have you ever used a boogie board?
A hoogie board?
A boogie board.
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, it's one of those situations where I don't know whether I told you when I was 11, I nearly drowned.
Yes.
Um, I drank far too much water um, because people were playing and not being responsible. I learned to swim, but I developed asthma later in life, and that gets to be a challenge trying to do some things because the first inclination with asthma is you'll sneeze, and as you get ready to sneeze, you take a breath in, and if you're down about 15 feet, you're in trouble.
I'm happy that you said that because for whatever reason, when you said as you begin to sneeze, I thought of my wife. When she was pregnant with with our son, and she said that
Mhm.
she peed.
Yeah,
She said that she
that's
peed.
right. That's right, because they have to hold their stomachs because of a different
The
type of
bladder.
pressure. Yeah, I remember those days. But I think, Leland, as we've been talking earlier today, the thing that crosses my mind is options and opportunity. Excuse me. Now, I think on the surface, everyone has options, but everyone doesn't have the opportunity to move to another country to live. And I think today we're going to talk about this lady who's 64 years old, and she moved to Mexico to live. Now, when I read this again, lots of stuff entered my mind, and the thing that entered my mind was here we are trying to build walls to keep Mexicans out. But on the flip side, Americans are willing to go to Mexico to live.
That's right.
So if some Americans are willing to go to Mexico to live, what make Mexicans or Mexico so bad? It doesn't jive with me. And I came to the conclusion is that there is such hypocrisy in the world. And it's as if it's not happening to me, so it must be okay.
Right. I would.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
You know. So so again, this lady had opportunity to go. She had means to go. And the article just sort of kind of says, hey, she's living on $1,200 a month. Well, and those of us who here in America, we can say, well, that's not a lot of money in America.
Yeah. In America.
But in Mexico, it's it's a good
It's decent living.
standard of living.
Yeah.
And as we talk further, it talks about some of the pros and cons. But I also realize that in certain countries, you have to hire your own private security. I didn't see that listed here because maybe the article was to give the glamour of foreign living.
Maybe.
Maybe, yes, absolutely. But again, I go like, I'm one to go like, I wonder why that is.
You mentioned earlier how people can be kind of naive, right, or blind.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yesterday we were driving to Target, and my wife says, um, she says when COVID first hit the scene, and I think there was news about it being at another country.
Mhm.
She said initially she thought to herself like, oh, no big deal. It's not as if COVID is going to reach the U.S., right?
Yes, we were. I remember it.
And so she said, as Americans, how often that we can basically miss the mark in thinking that America itself is one untouchable, right? And then also thinking that as Americans, we have like this crazy barrier around us, whether from consumer or bio or whatever else, chemical, whatever else.
I think I heard last night. I was listening to some of the State of the Union. Again, I don't choose sides. Sides. I don't have a dog in the fight, and I don't have a fight in the dog. I was just listening to the presentation last night by the president, and he said something to the effect, paraphrasing, that there isn't a wall high enough to keep COVID out. Now, I think you will agree that there has been so much misinformation and distortion about a very serious plague, and people who have options, who have opportunities, put on blinders, they close their eyes and pretend even today that it won't happen to them, that they won't get it. Which is scary. I remember that when word was that it was in Indiana, my wife and I were driving around to drugstore. We were driving everywhere to find hand sanitizer and masks and surgical gloves. We were going everywhere. Now, were we paranoid? No. Were we afraid? No. We just wanted to be prepared. Okay. And today, even with safeguards in place, people feel that they're invincible.
Absolutely. But you know what I miss about being a teenager?
What, sir?
That feeling of being invincible. That's the best part.
Keep living.
That's the best part in my mind about being a teenager.
Well, it's like this lady naively went to live in Mexico. She went on vacation and fell in love with the beach.
She fell in love with it.
Now, that is so cute.
It is.
However,
it's the Notebook story.
Well, it is. But here's the thing: she has the opportunity to come back home, but she's willing to endure all of the bad stuff there
that she claims is bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, okay, so some stuff that happens to other folk, just doesn't compute. And then certain stuff can happen, doesn't make sense. And then you say, well, what's the difference between compute and doesn't make sense? Well, I say it doesn't compute only because they're being stupid. I'm sorry. This is being recorded.
This is live. It's being broadcast as we speak.
Well, but I think people that are listening I hope they can understand that at some point in time there are people who are stuck on stupid. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. My grandmother would say, well, good on them, God bless them.
I still say that.
Well, yeah, if I say it, then people think I'm old. Well, I said I'm old enough,
But the thing that's really odd to me, or this I guess very timely, is that the lady here, she left, of all places, she left California.
Yes, absolutely.
And when I think of California, when I visit family in California, I think of how close California is to Mexico. It touches, right?
Yeah.
And then I think of how the climate in certain parts, can be similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say exactly where in Mexico she lives, but I would have to think that she lives in a more American-friendly area.
I would be inclined to agree, but I would also say that she's living on one of the coasts, and in that she's from California, I would venture to say that the coast that she lives on borders the Pacific versus the Atlantic.
Right, and she's probably closer to Ensenada or something like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But she left California, which a lot of people, as we speak right now, are fleeing California.
But for a different reason.
Kinda, it's like different, but also the same. And here's what I mean by that. She left California to go to Mexico. This is my interpretation. She didn't say this was the reason, but if she is living off of $1,200 a month in Mexico versus moving in with her cousin, her uncle, and her brother in California, right? People right now are leaving California. Most people are going to Texas in hopes to take their income from California and have a much better quality of life in Texas. And I feel like basically she did the same thing. Now she didn't do it the same time frame, but they're all seeking the same result.
And if money or if the cost of living was the major determinant, then that says to me, no matter what else happens, paying $1,200 a month to live outweighs any other inconvenience that I have to. I'm willing to deal with all of the other stuff, all of the cons, because of $1,200 a month.
That's right.
Now, that's a good way to look at things. And my wife and I were talking the other day, because I think I told you we just bought a house about less than a year ago, and it's just the two of us. And when most people our age or nearing retirement, they scale back and buy something. They want to go into a condo. They want to do something.
Shoebox, normally.
Yeah, because they want to still have a similar lifestyle, I think, of entertainment. But that lifestyle also is predicated upon the income or the revenue that's being generated in their waning years. Right. Well, we bought a 5-bedroom house. It's just the two of us. A 3-car garage with 2 cars. I mean, to some people that makes no sense. But as we were talking last week, what's happening to the housing market in Indianapolis or across the country now?
It's rising.
I think I read something that says that within the last year, the housing market has increased 12 to 14%.
I remember about 2 years ago, the average price of a property, residential property, was $250,000. It's now at $389,000.
Oh my word!
That's a big jump. Less than 24 months. And houses are not staying on the market. Now, I know we're getting away from this lady in Mexico. She didn't talk about the size of her dwelling. She talked about how little money she spends on a monthly basis, right,
to maintain and sustain herself.
Which to touch on what part of what you said, in my opinion, she valued the entertainment.
But she's not entertaining. Again, now let's think about it. She's an American going to Mexico. If she doesn't speak fluent Spanish,
True.
She's at a disadvantage. Now, I would imagine that in Mexico, as in the United States, they got a whole bunch of dialects. So there are people from Boston you might not understand, or people from New York or down south. You may not. You have to say, what'd you say? Or as the British would say, pardon, because you can't understand their heavy dialects. But with Spanish, some people speak it very, very fast, and you'll get every other word. You could end up in Timbuktu when you were supposed to be going someplace entirely different.
Right.
Or my daddy would say, you will walk up on something that you didn't intend to walk up on.
Or it'll walk up on you.
Yes, absolutely. But I just said, well, okay, why are people leaving the US to go to other countries to live? And then I realized that there are a whole bunch of possible reasons, because as you know, I spent a few years in the military, and I lived in certain countries that I contemplated extending to stay longer because I enjoyed something about those countries. Now, I thought about extending a tour of duty in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Now, people go like, man, you crazy? Even though there was hell all around me, I was in a nice little cocoon in a village where people took care of me and the rest of the individuals on my team. And because we felt secure in an insecure or an unsecure environment, we felt secure, that I thought about staying because I wanted to make a difference. Well, I remember being in England, United Kingdom in the late 70s. You know, here I am, a single American officer driving a big American car, and it was different. It was different because everybody there spoke, not everybody, but English was the primary language. So there was no language barrier. There was a language barrier in Vietnam. So this lady talks about a language barrier.
Big language barrier, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't speak Spanish, or if you don't speak the native tongue, or if you don't read it, you best hope that they have very good pictures on the things that you're buying.
Hope the pictures help.
Well, well, think about it. If you pick up a can of peaches and you don't speak the language, but you can see the peach, what are you going to do? Oh, I got peaches. If you're in the market for peaches, or plums, or asparagus, or green beans, or think about it.
Thank God numbers are universal.
Yes, the numbers are universal, but that's about all. but so I just say, if you're thinking about going to live in a foreign country, just do research.
Well, you touched on your background living in different places across the world. Yes. And I'm sure you've had colleagues who actually would end up living in other places.
Well, interesting that you should say that. I would say that. I know people today who, because of circumstances, their job may have taken them abroad, and the company was based in a foreign country. These individuals had pretty decent jobs. They started to have kids in that country. So the kids immediately have dual citizenship. So they consider living there, changing citizenship. So I can understand that. In the military, you oftentimes find young soldiers, male or female, that will go to a foreign country they're there for a 3-year assignment. And love is a mini splendor thing. You find someone, you know, you like what's happening, you end up marrying that person, and then you travel with that person. But then he or she decides that, you know, I think it would be nice if I were to go back home to live. They go back home to visit and end up living
back.
Yeah. So, you know, but to just not have any connection, for me, not having any connection to any of that, just pack up and go. Well, no, I say pack up. You have to throw away a lot of stuff before you move to a foreign country.
Yeah.
Because the size of the living quarters are not the same as here in the US. So you'll get rid of what you may have considered mementos for 25 years. You moved them from house to house and left them in a box that you haven't seen for 25 years. You're going to get rid of that box. So you will pare down your worldly possessions to move on with life.
It's crazy.
You know, but one thing I learned over the years, Leland, is that never say never, because we don't know what life will present to us, or what opportunity. Remember, opportunity, I said at the onset, what opportunity will present itself to you that will cause you to seriously consider doing something that last week you may not have. I mean, it wasn't even a passing fancy in your thought of thoughts. Okay. And again, what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to endure? What are you willing to sacrifice to make a transition such as that?
That's good. When I think of this headline, just the headline only, without reading the article, I have a flashback of I think it was like a CNBC segment. I don't know if it was, Stopwatch or something like that, where they had a financial advisor that came on, and the advisor mentioned that he advises clients to save as much money as possible for retirement, and because most clients never have enough money for retirement, that he then advises them that after they leave their job to immediately relocate to Mexico.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but again, you cannot argue with the cost of living, okay, angle or aspect of it. But again, you have to be willing to endure a dissimilar infrastructure. You may have to sacrifice modern conveniences like broadband,
right,
or the services, or I think this lady was saying that the utilities will go off without notice. So can you imagine having a prime rib roast in the oven, and the electricity just goes off, and that's a 4-hour ordeal or 3.5-hour ordeal?
I'm thinking about just having a business meeting from home, and the electricity goes off.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that would present a challenge. I think she also talked about the amount of noise. Now, I know that certain parts of California can be a little noisy. In fact, where I live now, periodically I hear the sirens going, and I'm going like, oh man, I wonder what that is. But she's saying constant noise from vehicles and from dogs, because the dogs just run the street.
The dogs run rampant, huh?
Yeah, they just, and I mean, they own the streets. And she was saying that there's a certain smell, and I'm quoting from this article.
I read it.
Yeah, that they have a different sanitation process.
They don't have one.
That's right. They just put stuff, hopefully in a plastic bag, at the end of the block, and hope someone picks it up eventually.
Yeah, that right there can be a challenge, and it's something that really, just as an American, that's something I take for granted. Just having, standard waste production, or waste processors.
I was just thinking, talking about waste production. I was thinking back, reflecting back again. My background is my background. I can remember when I was in Iran years ago. I was living in an apartment, and we had the modern convenience, electricity, hot and cold running water, yada, 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 yada. So I'm there, and there was a constant smell of methane. And I could not understand why I always smelled the sewer system. I had no idea. And then I asked one of my coworkers who was Iranian, and I asked him, why is that? And he smiled. He said, in the US, you guys have a U-boat okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That when you flush or drain the what have you,
sinks or commodes, yeah,
right, water stops in this little U-boat.
Yeah, on purpose.
And what does it do to smells?
It makes it so that the smell can't pass through the water.
Well, in Iran, they didn't have the U-boat.
Why? Was there a patent on it?
I never asked. I just didn't understand. Well, because again, a lot of people didn't have indoor plumbing. You have to remember, where are you? There was nothing uncommon to drive the streets, and you will find guys against the wall, or the ladies would turn away from the traffic and do their business on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. So we have to understand the culture that we're in and not be shocked by it. Okay. You just have to find a way to endure it and not let it be an issue for you and your success or survival.
Yeah.
So this lady, 15 years, she has adapted to all of that, because I don't know too many people would endure something for 15 years unless in their minds there was a marked advantage.
It reminds me of just dating in general, because she went out there, she fell in love with the beach, right?
Right.
But after, getting into the relationship, she realizes that there's, blackouts every now and again. Mm-hmm. There's all the issues.
Well, but even climatically, yep. She said that Mexico has two climates. Basically summer and fall. And she says, there's rain, two seasons, rainy season, and the hot season.
Yep.
And and you go like, man, like last night we had a storm here where I think we may have gotten an inch and a half of rain. And and I looked out the window, and there was rain, water in the street. Now eventually it ran off. Yep. But can you imagine that if you didn't have good sewer plumbing system or what have you, you could be dealing with standing water. Oh, and what was it, Arkansas? Yesterday, Arkansas had like 10 inches of rain or what have you. So suppose you had to deal with that for 6 months out of the year.
It would hurt the economy on a bigger scale.
Yeah, well, yeah. You can't. There are certain clothes you can't wear because of the climatic conditions. There are certain things you can't do. You have to deal with mildew and rust, but again, if you're willing to accept it all, then hey, you can't go to Walmart or Meijer or Dick's.
Not everyone knows where Meijer is yet.
But or whatever the chain is, don't go in expecting it to be a 24-hour service.
Right, and she mentioned that as well. She said that she doesn't have that ability, and mm-hmm. that if you go looking or shopping for something, you're not going to find all mm-hmm. the same type of things, whatever that may or may not be. Mm-hmm. But before we conclude, I want to know from you, Hank, do you think that this will become a trend of more people as they approach their 50s and 60s will relocate to places like Mexico?
Are you a mind reader? Here's what I just, after I read this article, I just went online and I said, okay, where are Americans immigrating to?
Here we go.
Okay,
South Africa.
For what? No, that's not one of them. It was not a lot. Here's the deal. Just generally speaking, people are immigrating to the U.S., but we're looking at. Oh, they didn't give me that. Hang on a second. Hang on. I need to go to another. Here we are. Americans are going to places like Portugal, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, and Malaysia. Okay. But my printer didn't give me a good copy. But as we look at the standard of living in certain countries, I would say consider that because the top 25, I'm looking and I don't see Mexico. And again, I don't know the criteria, Leland, for the assimilation of the list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it's GDP. I don't know whether it's family income. I don't know. But I would say people are going places because of heritage,
okay,
or jobs, or desire, or they just want to get away from a lot of the crap that's happening here in America, the divisiveness, the animosity, the hypocrisy, those things. Eventually, I think we all get to a point where enough is enough. I think Popeye said it best. Popeye was saying to Olive and Bruno, I've taken all I can take, and I can't take no more. And I don't know what that will take for individuals, but I would just say for people who are listening, don't make a rash decision. Do your homework. Go again. If you visit someplace and you're visiting Paris, for instance, if you like the nightlife, that's going to be fine. But get outside into the countryside and see how the other people live. And if you're thinking about going someplace that the country English is not the native tongue, then I would strongly encourage you to take a crash course, mm-hmm. to at least have a basic understanding of the language, and then find someone in that country or that community that's willing to help you to understand some of the local nuances, idiosyncrasies of speech.
Agreed.
Okay. But again, if I could live on $1,200 a month and live in a house that like I'm living
in a different country.
Oh well, I'm basically footloose. It's just the wife and me. But I'd be giving up all of my friends and relations and soon one of these days grandkids, and so we have to consider time.
That's what Zoom is for, Hank. That's what FaceTime is.
It ain't. I'm sorry, bad English. It ain't the same. And you okay? So now people are going for obvious reasons. Some people are going to reclaim their heritage.
Yeah.
Now, before I took a DNA test for people of color, Black folk in particular, when we were growing up, there were only a couple countries in Africa that we had heard about or we even considered. Oh. Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, maybe Sierra Leone or Senegal or, blah, 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 this and the other. Once I took a DNA test, Ghana and Kenya were not on the list. Now, why do you think that is?
Because DNA? I don't know.
That's right. Because of my DNA heritage, is I'm 35% on my father's side Nigerian, and some Senegalese and some Mali people on the West Coast.
West Coast.
You know?
West Coast.
And you know, say, hey, why, if I'm going to visit, I want to visit someplace that I have a physiological connection to.
And I'll say this too, but as we wrap up, there was a couple years ago, I was talking to another guy who was in investments, and he let me know that he and his family spent about 6 months out of the year, I think it was in Malaysia, or somewhere in Malaysia, because for about $2,000 a month, he mentioned that he's able to have a compound. $2,000 a month. Yeah. He has a butler, 2 bodyguards, housing, right? And I was like, wow.
Now, Leland, a lot of people, and I know we're going to be getting off, but I was just sitting here thinking, you were mentioning that. A lot of people do not have a large retirement nest egg. And they are looking to rely on social insecurity as a to quantify their lifestyle. However, there's a way for them to have another source of income that would may generate $1,200 a month to help offset their retirement shortfalls, but they have to be willing to step to the plate and say, I want to live better in retirement, or I want to live in retirement with the same lifestyle I did pre-retirement. But I don't have the resources to do that. What should I do? And I would encourage them to contact you.
Yeah.
Or your organization.
Go to the website, seriously.
No, I mean, I was sitting here, I wasn't going to put in a plug for you, but I'm just saying it would make all the sense in the world, because I think somewhere in this talk, I talked about doing some research.
Oh yeah, you have to.
It costs them nothing to do research on the front end.
In the United States.
Well, yes. Yes, while you're still here. But do the research on the front end, because if you are impetuous, or if you are impulsive, it could cost you big time, long term, for the rest of your life.
That's right. That's right. And these are tools that any and everyone has access to. You just have to be aware of them. You have to know the right way to execute them. But everyone has access to these tools.
But my dad said, son, there's a difference between I wanna do something and I'm gonna do something. So I would just say for people, get rid of the philosophy, the concept, I wanna do something. I would just encourage you to take the step, because once you do the research, once you've done the research, then you have no one to blame or fault but yourself. Okay? Because you knew better, but you did nothing but complain. We don't want to talk to you. We want to talk for the people who say, listen, you guys said something that made some sense. Okay? Can we talk? And the answer to that is yes, we can talk. And I would just say, let's get busy.
Let's get busy. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for your time, and we will see you all on the next one.